Ang lesson na to ay tungkol sa English question na how often na sa Tagalog ay gaano kadalas. How often? Ang how often ay ginagamit natin para itanong kung gaano kadalas o kalimit ginagawa o nangyayari ang isang bagay o aktibidad. How often do you catch a cold in the winter? How often do you catch a cold in the winter? Kahulugan, gaano kadalas kang sipunin kapag taglamig? Kung mapapansin mo, ang sentence structure natin dito ay how often plus do you plus verb in its base form plus the rest of the sentence. Base form, ibig sabihin, pinaka-basic na form ng verb. Walang S sa dulo, wala ring D or ED o kaya ING. Yung pinaka-root word lang talaga. So, tuwing gagamitin mo ang how often para tanungin ang kausap mo, sundin mo lang ang pattern na to. How often plus do you plus verb base form. Okay, next. How often do you post on Instagram? How often do you post on Instagram? Gaano kadalas kang mag-post sa Instagram? How often should you do intermittent fasting? How often should you do intermittent fasting? Gaano kadalas ka dapat mag-intermittent fasting? How often do you take a shower? How often do you take a shower? Gaano kadalas kang maligo? How often does it rain in Japan? How often does it rain in Japan? Gaano kadalas umulan sa Japan? How often does she make mistakes? How often does she make mistakes? Gaano kadalas siyang magkamali? How often do you visit your grandparents? How often do you visit your grandparents? Gaano kadalas mong dalawin ang mga lolo't lola mo? How often do you wash your hands? How often do you wash your hands? Gaano kadalas kang maghugas ng kamay? How often do you check your phone? How often do you check your phone? Gaano kadalas mong chine-check ang telepono mo? How often do you drink coffee? How often do you drink coffee? Gaano kadalas kang umiinom ng kape? How often do you take the subway? How often do you take the subway? Gaano kadalas kang nagsasubway? How often do you put on makeup? How often do you put on makeup? Gaano kadalas kang mag-makeup? How often do you eat chocolate? How often do you eat chocolate? Gaano kadalas kang kumain ng tsokolate? How often do you go to Rome? How often do you go to Rome? Gaano kadalas kang pumupunta sa Rome? How often do you go out with your friends? How often do you go out with your friends? Gaano kadalas kang lumalabas kasama ang mga kaibigan mo? How often do you call your dad? How often do you call your dad? Gaano kadalas mong tinatawagan ang tatay mo? How often does it happen? How often does it happen? Gaano kadalas nangyayari yon? How often do you brush your teeth? How often do you brush your teeth? Gaano kadalas kang nagsisipilyo ng ngipin? How often do you go shopping? How often do you go shopping? Gaano kadalas kang nagsha-shopping? How often do you polish your shoes? How often do you polish your shoes? Gaano kadalas kang naglilinis ng sapatos? How often do you do laundry? How often do you do laundry? Gaano kadalas kang naglalaba? How often do you go swimming? How often do you go swimming? Gaano kadalas kang nagsuswimming? How often do you cook? How often do you cook? Gaano kadalas kang nagluluto? How often do you exercise? How often do you exercise? Gaano kadalas kang nag-eehersisyo? How often do you go to church? How often do you go to church? Gaano kadalas kang sumasamba or gaano kadalas kang nagsisimba? How often do you buy new clothes? How often do you buy new clothes? Gaano kadalas kang bumibili ng bagong damit? How often do you travel abroad? How often do you travel abroad? Gaano kadalas kang bumabiyahe sa abroad? How often do you water the plants? How often do you water the plants? Gaano kadalas mong dinidiligan ang mga halaman? How often do you study English? How often do you study English? Gaano kadalas kang nag-aaral ng English? How often do you ride a bike? How often do you ride a bike? Gaano kadalas kang nagbibisikleta? How often do you read the newspaper? How often do you read the newspaper? Gaano kadalas kang nagbabasa ng dyaryo? How often do you watch TV? How often do you watch TV? Gaano kadalas kang nanonood ng TV? How often do you drink? Or, how often do you drink alcohol? How often do you drink alcohol? Gaano kadalas kang umiinom ng alak? How often do you get a haircut? How often do you get a haircut? Gaano kadalas kang nagpapagupit ng buhok? How often are you late for work? How often are you late for work? Gaano kadalas kang nahuhuli sa trabaho? How often do you make your bed? How often do you make your bed? Gaano kadalas kang nagliligpit ng higaan?